Good morning, friends, and welcome to this lecture on World Anti-Doping Code. I'm Professor Dobson Dominic, and this is a continuation of our first week lecture on anti-doping, lecture 5. So the learning outcome, what we have seen today, we are going to see today are what is WADA code, World Anti-Doping Code, the history behind creation of WADA code, what are the 8 international standards WADA code specifies, what are the code revisions which has happened over the course of 2 decades, how is WADA code compliance being followed by all the international sporting organizations, and conclusion. Starting with what is World Anti-Doping Agency Code. WADA code is a core document that harmonizes anti-doping policies, rules and regulations within sports organizations and amongst public authorities around the world. It works in conjunction with 8 international standards which aim to foster consistency among all the anti-doping organizations in various areas. What is the aim of the code? The aim of the code is to ensure fair play, health and equality in sports globally. A little bit on the history behind how the World Anti-Doping Agency Code was created. WADA, as we already know through the previous sessions, was established in 1999 with the help of International Olympic Committee and several other international sporting bodies. WADA created the WADA code and launched it in 2004. It was periodically updated over the course of years, especially in 2009, 2015 and latest by 2021. The reason and the goal behind WADA code creation was to standardize anti-doping policies and procedures across all sports and countries, to standardize the anti-doping testing policies, anti-doping regulations throughout the world. What are the main components of WADA code? WADA code standardizes the prohibited list. Prohibited list is a comprehensive list made up of several substances, banned substances and banned methods. So it specifies what all substances and methods which should be banned in that particular sport. It is periodically revised over a period of time. WADA code also specifies the procedures for athletes testing and investigations. The other important component of World Anti-Doping Agency Code is the medical allowance for certain drugs if it is necessary for athletes' health. That is called TUE or therapeutic use exemption. Especially for athletes who are suffering from childhood asthma, childhood bronchial asthma, you need to prescribe certain times beta blockers, beta 2 agonist, and that is a known performance enhancing drug. So if those athletes have a valid medical reason, they can apply to WADA for therapeutic use exemption and they can get the standardized TUE form. The final component of WADA code is what are the rights and responsibilities of athletes and also the organizations. So it standardizes and gives a set form for athletes to know the testing rights and also the responsibilities or obligations towards maintaining a fair play in the sport. We have looked into the main components of WADA code. Now, the main purpose of WADA code is to protect athletes' fundamental right to participate in a doping-free sport and thus promote health, fairness, and equality for athletes worldwide. To ensure harmonized, coordinated, and effective anti-doping programs at the international and national level with the prevention of doping, including education, deterrence and detection, enforcement of rules and regulations, and to clearly frame the rule of law. These are the purpose of WADA code. Now, what is the rationale behind creation of this World Anti-Doping Code? Anti-doping programs are founded on the intrinsic value of sport. Sport has an intrinsic value. This intrinsic value is often referred to as the spirit of sport. So, the spirit of sport is a very important concept because it is a celebration of human spirit, body and mind. Now, where all WADA code is applied? WADA code is applied for ADRVs, any presence of prohibited substance, use of attempted use of prohibited substance, refusing to submit to testing, administration of prohibited substance. Then the WADA sanctions are framed. These sanctions can range from simple warnings to a temporary ban to permanent lifetime bans. These factors which are affecting the sanctions are the player's intent to dope, the type of banned substance which the athlete has used, and the history behind the athlete's usage of performance enhancing drugs. These all will decide the extent of sanctions. Now, what are the standards WADA code is framed upon? WADA code has 8 important international standards. What are they? International Standard for Testing and Investigation, abbreviation known as ISTI. International Standard for Laboratories, ISL. So, basically to standardize all the WADA accredited laboratories, we have one in New Delhi. International Standard for Therapeutic Use Exemption, so that there is no demarcation between the TUE forms. International Standard for the Prohibited List. So, the list is a standard one throughout the world. International Standard for the Protection of Privacy and Personal Information, ISPPPI. International Standard for Code Compliance by Signatories, ISCCS. International Standard for Education, ISE. International Standard for Result Management. Let's look into each and every one. The first one is the International Standard for Testing and Investigation. So, WADA code establishes mandatory minimum standards for testing. It signifies planning, notification of athletes, preparing for and conducting sample collection, security, post-test administration of samples and documentations, and transport of samples to laboratory for analysis. For the efficient and effective conduct of investigations and possible adverse reactions. So, all this comes under International Standard for Testing and Investigations. The next one is International Standard for Laboratories, ISL, to ensure that the WADA accredited laboratories and WADA approved laboratories for athlete biological passport, both for in competition and outside competition testing, and to have a valid report which is based on the test results based on reliable evidentiary data, to facilitate harmonization in analytical testing of samples. The third one is the international standard for therapeutic use exemption, to establish the conditions that must be satisfied in order for a therapeutic use exemption to be granted, permitting an athlete to use a prohibited substance. The fourth one is the international standard for the prohibited list, commonly known as the list. So this comprehensive list indicates what substances and methods are prohibited in sport and when it is prohibited. Some substances and some drugs are prohibited in particular sports, and some drugs are permitted outside the competition. So this list will be an comprehensive standard for the prohibited list. The next one is the international standard for protection of privacy and personal information, to ensure that anti-doping organizations apply appropriately sufficient and effective privacy protections to the personal information they process when conducting anti-doping programs. Because the privacy is important, because an athlete is giving a blood sample or a urine sample, it is very important that the privacy is taken care of. Next one is the international standard for code compliance by signatories, ISCS, to set out the relevant framework and procedures for ensuring code compliances by all signatories. The last one is the International Standard for Education, ISC, to support the preservation of the spirit of sport as outlined in the WADA code, and to help foster a clean sporting environment. And the last one is the International Standard for Result Management, to set out the core responsibilities of anti-doping organizations with respect to results management. So these are the eight important codes, and the WADA code revisions happened in 2004. WADA initiated the consultation process, and then in 2006, 11 and 17, the WADA code was revised. WADA code revisions. Following the experience gained in the application of the 2004 code, World Anti-Doping Agency initiated consultation process in 2006, 2011 and 2017 to review the code. These review processes were fully collaborative process that involved the whole of anti-doping community, all of whom sought an enhanced code that would benefit athletes around the world. And hence the revisions were published in 2007, 2015 and 2021. WADA code compliance. To date, approximately 700 sporting organizations and sporting bodies have accepted the World Anti-Doping Code. These organizations include International Olympic Committee IOC, International Paralympic Committee IPC, International Federations IFS, National Olympic and Paralympic Committees, as well as national and regional anti-doping organizations. All the signatories are required to undertake 3 steps in order to be fully compliant with the WADA code. One is acceptance, 2 is implementations, and 3 is a strict enforcement. These 3 things are required for a comprehensive WADA code compliance. These are our references for World Anti-Doping Agency code. You can look into this and have a comprehensive reading. Thank you and Jai Hind.